what was the very first shot you ever did at Jason? Do you know what it is?
I do, because of being inexperienced and the new kid on the block. My very first shot with Tom McLaughlin was stepping into the screen, 45-degree angle where you see the side of my hood, the mask, and the motorhome bouncing up and down, and I turned and walked towards it. I know the exact first time I put the mask on and stepped into the shot.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Because for me, you guys obviously know that films are not shot chronologically. They're shot in completely different order than they're viewed. And my first shot as Jason was where Tina is having a flashback or a vision, I guess it is, of me killing Bill Butler, who played Michael. It was his birthday that they were celebrating, in the kitchen. And it was her vision of him dying, which didn't really happen, but that's what she saw. That was the very first thing I ever did with the hockey mask on. And for me, that's a pretty amazing memory to have. I think, you know, just to know that, maybe not so much with you because it wasn't such an established character. You
And a bag on his head.
But by the time
But I can
CJ
tell you what my first shot was.
Uh-oh.
My first shot was they were shooting at night, and it was when she runs to the Volkswagen. She jumps in, and I come up in the window. Well, there was a stunt with that. The stunt is that actually the car set up on a bit of a hill, about 8 feet elevated. So what we did, we put boxes down on the bottom of the hill. She opens the door, hits me, I go backwards down, and I land in the boxes. Well, I overshot it. And when I went back and I landed, I banged my head on the ground and knocked myself out.
Welcome to Friday the 13th.
Swear to God, everybody's looking at me and I'm going, where's the door? Overshot it backwards because I went backwards on it. That's my first shot.
So, CJ, when you killed the sheriff by bending him over backwards, talk about how that was fun.
It was a good stunt. Michael Nomad did my stunt. He was my stunt coordinator. And two bodies, there's a hole, and one person is dug in the hole standing up with their stomach bent over on the ground. The other person is in the hole in reverse. So that means their face is down and their legs are out. They attack the clothes, and then the other person lays back on the other person. So done very good, as a matter of fact. And, you know, I think it was, you know, we all have favorite kills. It was probably my favorite kill of uniqueness. But I think the cool part about it was just the creativity, because we didn't have the wires and all those type of things we have today in the special effects. So everything had to be done creatively to success.
It's a great shot because you can see the victim's legs moving and his upper body, and you're like, wait a minute, I expected half of them to be a dummy. You know?
People.
Yeah, very good.
So, Kane, you've killed a lot of people in films. One of them I'd like to talk about who you worked with.
Most murders on film than any actor in history is what I maintain. I don't think anybody has done that.
One in particular from the last Jason that you were in was David Cronenberg. Talk about working with him.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I'm a fan of his and was happy that he was in the film. Jim Isaac was good buddies with him. He directed Jason X. Unfortunately died recently, or fairly recently, and but Cronenberg is a legend, you know, and I get to kill him. That's pretty cool. Even though it wasn't a hands-on kill, it was still because of something I did. I wish it had been something directly involved. Just like in Jason Goes to Hell, there's two famous DJs from LA, DJs if you still call them that, Mark and Brian. They have a show on every morning, kind of like Stern had, and they wanted to be in Jason Goes to Hell, so they were cast, and they are victims of Jason's wrath, but not at my hands. It's when the evil is in somebody else and they get killed by that person. So they were like, well, technically Jason victim, but Kane didn't kill us, so they were, you know, really bummed out about it. And I understand the same thing. I wish I could have killed Cronenberg with my bare hands.
And
It's always better.
You also killed another famous person at that time was Horshack from Kane Hodder. Talk about working with him.
It was enjoyable, you know, watching those shows back in the early 70s. The interesting thing, I wish in today's world, some of the scenes that were cut out back in '86 would be acceptable. And in those days, they didn't save the tape that hit the floor in cases. But when that shot was done, when the heart came out, you see a snapshot, but they actually had the blood being pumped out of the heart as part of the scene, which if we'd have saved all that tape in those days, I'm sure Tom McLaughlin would put it together and there'd be an extended version, which I expect one day will come out with probably the series that Kane took forward as a result of the way technology has shifted over the years.
Yeah, I mean, Jason goes, part 7 was so cut. Every single kill I did ended up like CJ's talking about, where they cut out the most graphic part of it. It was just the worst timing. So that footage existed, but they never anticipated using it, like he said. So they didn't do anything with it. They didn't sweeten it, as they call it. They didn't color correct it. The time code is still on it at the bottom, and it's really poor quality. But I've seen it, and every single kill in The New Blood is completely gone and doesn't really exist. They kind of put some of it in the DVD, but it's such poor quality that it just doesn't feel the same. And it was just frustrating, especially for the makeup effects people. They put their heart and soul into making all these deaths look amazing, and then it's cut out of the film and never used. Kind of a waste of time, but in particular, when I grabbed the guy's head outside the van and crush it down, it was so amazing when we did it, because it was a prosthetic head, of course. The eyeball popped out. I got it down to like the size of a softball, and it looked so good when I saw it in dailies. And then it just never made the movie. It's frustrating, because sometimes that happens with stunts too. You'll do a very difficult stunt, and then when you see it on the movie, somehow the way it was shot doesn't do it justice. And also, vice versa, sometimes things look spectacular and you're like, wow, that looked better than it really was. So then you don't mind, but if you do something dangerous and then it's not very good on film, it's kind of frustrating too.
Now, other than your own performances of Jason, do you have an actor that you really enjoyed watching in the movie other than yourself play Jason?
As Jason?
No.
How did we not know that was coming? I personally, you know, and again, you can believe me because I'm saying it now, because I think CJ did a great job as the character, because most guys, once they had the hockey mask on, tended to overact. And that's a very fine line to walk. With the mask on, there's no expression whatsoever, of course, but it's hard to get across being imposing without your voice or your face. So,
Try a bag.
yeah.
So if you'd have been on time, I said that to the audience because the question was, and I actually stood up and walked forward and expressing exactly what you just said about the challenges of wearing the hockey mask. My answer
That
would be,
wasn't the question. The question was,
Question was,
who do you
who's the
think
best?
did the best job?
hey, if you'd have been on time,
I
you'd
mean,
have heard
it's
the
easy
answer.
who did the best job. God. There's no question about who did the best job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Is there any questions?
Yeah, do we have any questions from the audience?
First of all, thank you guys for coming out here. It means a lot to everybody here. My question is, and be honest, does it piss you off when A-listers like Tom Cruise get all special treatment and everything? Well, you guys have been doing this whole gimmick for 30 years, and you guys continue to get the love of all the fans here.
Nothing is better than the Friday the 13th fans. I don't give a shit what you say. I don't care what you say. The fans of Friday the 13th, and these guys will agree with me. They treat us better. I don't care about Tom Cruise. The Friday fans are the best fans in the world.
No, that really is true. You guys are You make us feel like, you know, somebody, like a big shot. And for those, none of us, I don't think, ever expected to ever sign an autograph when we went into this business. There are a lot of people that go into this business because they want to be famous. We did not do that. We went in because we enjoyed what we were doing. So the fact that we are asked to sign our names, I still think is an honor. And I'm sure that's how we all feel.
And I didn't know about autographs, to be honest with you, until 25 years after the film was done. When they wrote the first book, The Making of Friday the 13th, David Grove wrote the book. And they called me and they said, you know, I wanted to do an interview, and I didn't even know what the hell they were talking about. And then I found out at that time that there were these conventions and there were fans, and I was shocked. And that was I guess I've been doing it for about 11 years now. I've been doing these.
And someone else used to do.
Yeah, the other guy was saying he had all my kills and he did everything, and he was taking credit for everything I did.
Which is why he signs the real Jason.
And I gotta tell you, and Kane and CJ will tell you, as a stuntman, I want to tell you, being a stuntman is an art. Not everybody can do stunts, and when somebody claims that they did your work, that pisses you off. And it's like an artist that paints a painting and somebody forges it. I mean, he was going around wearing Gillette, saying that he did all his kills and everything, and the guy was only in one scene in the movie, and he had to be pushed through a window. So I was very angry about it. But I want to tell you something. The fans, all of you, and thousands of other fans, when the book came out, were very hostile to him and were very warm to me. And I got to tell you, when you go back to your question about, because these Tom Cruise and these guys get it, let me tell you, it was amazing to me how many people cared about what I did. Cared about what I did as a stuntman. And I've done some 40 films as a stunt guy, you know, and I can tell you, I appreciate it tremendously.
As far as me, the one thing I can say that's a pleasure is I can honestly say that all my own stunts, period, as three of us can say that. And it's nice to be able to do your own stunts. Tom Cruise, his career is amazing, period. I couldn't even imagine what he's done or where he's at today, not knowing that world. But he also does quite a few of his stunts nowadays. In fact, I think he gets in trouble all the time because he wants to participate in those stunts if he get hurt. But not knowing that world, look, I'm not going to take credit away from anybody at the end of the day. I'm happy where I'm at, I'm blessed, I appreciate everything over the last 30 years, and I think I speak for all of us. We've got an iconic brand that'll be around in 50 years. Most actors don't make it through 50 years, and even the greatness of the Harry Fondas, etc., they go away. But Jason will live on because of the character of brand that it's become. In 2015, 2075, I'll be dead, really dead.
That's absolutely right. You know, I just moved to Florida, and I became a member in a golf course and stuff. And somebody, as soon as somebody says, "You were Jason?" The name Jason, that in itself is incredible. So, screw Cruise.
Who else has a question?
Wait, before we go on, a couple things I want to say. First of all, I've done a lot of big action films doing stunts, and I remember watching an interview of a famous actor who does a lot of action films, and we were watching the interview, and he said about doing all his stunts in the movie, and I'm sitting with the guy who did all the stunts, and I said, "Well, how's that make you feel?" And he said, "Just part of the job." So the guy was taking credit for all these stunts that this guy did, and he was acting like he had done it himself. And being a gentleman, I'm not going to mention his name, Bruce Willis, because that would be weird. But some people do take credit for things that other people have done, and it's a little bit, insulting when you put your life on the line for somebody and they get credit for it.
All right, put your hands up if you have a question for these guys.
wait, one more thing, just came to mind, sorry, because of what Steve said, sorry.
What a pain in the ass.
I know.
I swear to God. Gee.
Talking about how good the Friday fans are, it's also humbling. Recently, I've met some younger horror fans that didn't grow up with the movies. And I was talking to them away from the convention, somewhere, I can't remember where it was, and I was saying, so, you know the Friday the 13th films? I wasn't trying to, promote myself, but I was just quizzing them. And they said, yeah, I think we've heard of it. They were like 14, 15, something like that. And I said, what was the name of the character in the Friday films that killed everybody? And they go, Chucky? And they weren't trying to be funny. They were honestly not sure because they didn't grow up with it. So, at the same time as feeling honored by people like you guys, we also still get humbled by people that have no idea what we do.
All right, am I good, Kane?
Unless I did something.
Or who else has a question?
No, wait a minute, I got something, no.
Hi, this is a little off topic. Me and my buddy have been friends since, friends for like 14 years. We just turned 22 today. I was wondering if I could get you guys to say happy birthday.
No.
Happy birthday, first of all. And that was an interesting year for me, too, which nobody gives a shit about. But when I was 22, I got burned doing a fire stunt and spent 6 months in the hospital, so watch your back.
Happy birthday.
Wow, it took all that time to say happy birthday to you. You guys getting married? It's okay, I'm just asking.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Hallelujah. Happy birthday, young man.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for all three films. Awesome, of course. But my question is,
All 3 films.
well, no, I mean it's
Now you did it.
all of them.
Here we go.
So
I know
that
it
means
pissed them off.
CJ did 1, Steve did 1, and I
Here
did
we
No,
go.
I did 4, goddammit. I did 4. 2, 3, 4 in the final chapter. I was in it, they even like this of me. You're not the only guy that did 4, you pain in the ass. I did 4, goddammit.
You get paid for all those?
You're damn right, I got residuals. 2 cents, 4 cents, 8 cents.
It's the point. He was in 4 of them.
I was wondering if there's like a story that you guys could tell us from behind the scenes that happened during any of your shoots that, kind of still you remember that maybe, we haven't heard before or something that, happened on set. Just wondering if you had something.
I mean, everything happened. I mean, while I was shooting, Cliff Cudney was the stunt coordinator on the show, and the girl that played Kirsten, her name is Kirsten, I can't remember the kid, she came out of the lake naked. You know who I'm talking about? I don't remember her name from the film. But she was a jogger. She was always concerned that her body was good. In fact, when she shot the scene where she came out of the lake with no clothes on, they wanted to have a closed set, and she said, no, that's fine. She didn't care that everybody was there. This girl would jog every morning, like 6, 7, 8 miles. She would come back to the trail where we were eating, and this is no exaggeration, she would eat 2 dozen eggs. And everybody, that was the talk of the whole set. There she goes eating 2 dozen eggs again. And she had the guy cook her 2 dozen eggs. It was the most wonderful, and she was thin as a rail. She's making appearances now. You gotta go see her. She's skinny as hell.
I think, you gotta remember, most of us shot at night. Sun went down, we got up. Sun came up, we hang out at the pool at the hotel and sleep all day long, basically.
You
Go
stayed
back
in
to
a
work.
hotel?
Yeah, we had
A
heat.
hotel?
We had heat too, with electricity.
Hotel? We were in a camp. It was freaking freezing.
You didn't get a contract. Anyway, so I think every one of us has experiences. I think, there's nothing that's going to be abnormal that somebody would pop up with, but if you think about
You
it,
stay in a hotel too? Jesus.
So,
I had an apartment in Toronto for
See?
Jason X for 3 months, beautiful apartment.
I want to tell you, I got so screwed on
that's
this
why you got
one.
2 cents, 4 cents, and 6 cents, okay? So, yeah, we all did something different, but it was mostly daytime, so you gotta think about how we were working at night. So it was kind of abnormal for us.
I mean, I've told stories, you know, you're probably sick of them, like Part 7, going from the set through the woods back to the trailers on a path, 2 o'clock in the morning, nobody there.
Don't tell a story from every freaking movie. Just
No,
tell
I
one.
won't. Sorry, I did more than one.
Just tell one. Just tell one.
If you let me tell it.
Go ahead.
I'm walking on the path at 2 o'clock in the morning, nobody's around.
Oh, I heard that story.
I know. Somebody's walking towards me. I apologize if you have heard it, but I didn't recognize him as someone from the crew. So I stopped. I still had the hockey mask on because it was cold out. And I stopped and stared at him. And he uttered, I believe, the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Basically, you remember what I look like. And he said, "Oh, excuse me, are you with the movie?" So,
Back to your Tom Cruise question.
of course, my immediate thought is, I'm fucking with you now. So I stared at him, I did a little head cock and some breathing, and you are with the movie, right? And I lunged at him and he took off. And the next day, Beekler, the director, says, "You know, that local cop never showed up on the set last night." I have no idea. You've heard that one probably before, but it's true. Out of all your...
What's your name?
I'm done.
Doug? How the hell are you,
Oh,
Doug?
pretty good.
Good. Speak up. Pull the mic up there. Pull it up. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I got your bed.
I was just curious, what was your favorite kill in your genre of movie?
I know his, and he knows mine. His is wheelchair backwards down the stairs.
Here's his sleeping bag.
This is sleeping bag. Mine is wheelchair down the stairs backwards with a machete in the head. In the head.
The back bend.
Yeah.
Break it. We know each other's because, but I will tell you, each one is different. If you think about it, when Kane killed somebody in a sleep bag, just the power, going back to before Kane came up, the power it took to do that, theoretically fucks with your mind. But if you think about breaking somebody's back, it's another form of execution, putting a machete in somebody's head, I mean, they're all different psychologically. They're all cool, but they're all different.
Everybody remembers wheelchair down the stairs backwards? let me just say this about that, and I'm not going to make a long story short. That was a stunt that was performed by a guy named Tony Ferrantino. Tony Ferrantino was a stunt guy. His brother was James Ferrantino, the actor. And that stunt took about 2 weeks to set up with the weights in the bottom of the wheelchair and running a line down the stairs and then doing it in the rain. And we did it in one shot. We did it in one shot and